Alright, so you know that feeling in The King is Watching when you're cruising through a run and suddenly, boom, you get to pick a new artifact? It's one of those moments where the whole game can flip on its head. These little treasures aren't just shiny trinkets, they're game changers. One buff, and suddenly your whole strategy shifts. Maybe you double down on your current build, or maybe you throw it all out the window and try something totally different. Either way, that choice, it's pure adrenaline. But here's the catch. There are a lot of artifacts in the game, and even when you're just picking 1 out of 3, it can be agonizing. Do you grab the safe, reliable option, or gamble on something spicy that could completely break the game in your favor? Well, that's where we come in. We've sorted every artifact into a tier list, so you'll know exactly which ones are worth snagging, and which ones you can leave behind without regrets. Let's see where your favorites ended up. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking artifacts in The King is Watching. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The artifacts in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ancient Pact, Dead Rat, Frag Bomb, Garland, Golden Ball, Poor Man's Relic, Prospector's Map, and Tax Decree. Oh boy! You know those artifacts in The King is Watching that look all shiny and mysterious, but then you actually use them and think, why did I do this to myself? Yeah, we are diving into that category today. The bottom of the barrel, the last pick in gym class kind of artifacts. Let's talk about them one by one, and maybe, just maybe, you will avoid sabotaging your own run. First up is Ancient Pact. On paper, it sounds heroic. Once per game, if your castle hits 0 health, it magically pops back to life with 20 health and stuns all enemies for 7 seconds. But let's be real, if you are already at 0 health, your run is probably on life support. Sure, you might survive another wave, but the Grim Reaper is probably just around the corner with a clipboard. Next is Dead Rat. Yep, the name already screams premium quality, right? This one gives you 150 meat instantly. If you are playing Leonid, you might squeeze some value out of it for his health boost ability. Otherwise, you will wish you had a more reliable source of meat. Because let's face it, buildings that need meat demand a steady supply, not a one-time rat snack. Then there is Frag Bomb. Damage dealers get 25% more power. Sounds amazing until you remember that damaging defensive buildings are as rare and overpriced as airport food. It is like being handed a gold-plated hammer, but realizing you only have 1 nail in the entire game. Garland is a sneaky one. It instantly hands you 30 of every resource, including special ones like relics. That can give you a cheeky advantage with something like the Cemetery Trader. But beware, it also gives you blood, which is basically sending a party invitation to Lord Draven. And that guy never leaves without wrecking your place. Golden Ball is, well, let's call it wishful thinking in artifact form. It heals your castle for 10 health every time one of the next 5 buildings runs out of juice. In practice, it is inconsistent, and you should ideally not be depending on it. The only fun combo is with Giants betting, since recruiting Giants damages your castle. But even then, it is a niche case. Poor Man's Relic is here to convince you that grunts are worth building your army around. Spoiler, they are not. Sure, it gives each grunt 2% more health and 3% more damage for every other grunt on the field. But even with stacking bonuses, they are still grunts, which is like trying to win a boxing match with a squad of toddlers holding pool noodles. Then we have Prospector's Map, which just drops 150 oil in your lap. You could use it to build something big, like an Archmage's University, but only if you have enough crystals to actually use it regularly. Otherwise, you are just sitting there with a barrel of oil and nowhere to pour it. And finally, Tax Decree. This one gives you 150 flour instantly. That is a little more valuable than oil or meat overall, but honestly, it is still better to set up a mill and have a steady supply rather than blowing it all in one go. Think of it as winning a bread voucher versus owning a bakery. You want the bakery. The artifacts in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Bloodbound Brick, Broken Penny, Excavation Stone, Indestructible Shield, Iron Hoe, Mistus Tome, Piggy Bank, Scarecrow Hat, Second Chance, Strawberry Cocktail, Sturdy Candle, Sweeping Blade, and Ugly Apple. Alright, time to talk about the middle kids of the artifact family and The King is Watching. The C-tier crowd. They are not terrible, they are not amazing. They are that friend who is always invited to the party but never the life of it. You will not cry if you get one, but you will not be building your whole strategy around them either. Let's break them down, one artifact at a time. First, Bloodbound Brick. This one heals your castle by 1 point every time a friendly unit dies. In a pinch, it can help you bounce back from a rough wave or two. But ideally, you do not want to be losing enough units for this to really shine. If this is carrying you, you might have bigger problems. Broken Penny is a gamble, literally. You earn 3 gold for every point of damage your castle takes. If you grab it early, it can actually be a great way to stockpile gold, especially if you have a reliable method to patch up your castle afterwards. Just remember, earning money by getting hit is not exactly the most sustainable business plan. Next is the Excavation Stone, which instantly gives you 3 large resource packs. Each pack is 90 of something, and you get to pick 3 times. The nice part is that you can save those picks for when you really need them. It is slightly better than the usual one-time resource artifacts, but still not a game-defining move. The Indestructible Shield gives all your units a 10% chance to ignore incoming damage. 10% is better than nothing, sure, but you cannot rely on it to save your army. It is like giving your soldiers a lucky rabbit's foot and hoping for the best. Then we have the Iron Hoe, which doubles the lifespan of your starter buildings. Normally, you do not want to depend on basic production buildings for too long, but if the game is going badly and you are clawing your way toward a win, this little farming tool can actually save your run. Mystic Tome. 4 random spells instantly. Sounds good, right? Well, it is only as good as the luck of the draw. You might get exactly what you need, or you might get a magical dumpster fire. And if you do not have enough spell slots, any extras are simply wasted. Painful. The piggy bank is sneaky good if you grab it early. It refunds 10% of all resources you spend on constructing buildings. Over time, those little savings add up, like finding loose change in your couch every single day. Now for the Scarecrow Hat. Every 40 seconds, when one of your troops dies, it has a chance to come back as a scarecrow. Basically, as if you had cast the Scarecrow spell. It is a fun gimmick, but not something that will turn the tide of battle. More of a nice to have than a need to have. Second Chance is all about giving temporary units a 50% shot at respawning when their timer runs out. Fun fact, Ruin Scouts count as temporary, so sometimes they pop right back up in the graveyard like nothing happened. Could be helpful, or could be completely irrelevant depending on your army. Then there's the Strawberry Cocktail, which gives you 7 permanent morale. Morale is always important, so any boost is welcome. This one is not flashy, but it is solid, like a little motivational pep talk in a glass. Sturdy Candle triples the lifespan of all temporary units. Again, this works really well with Ruin Scouts and the occasional Necromancy play. For the right build, it can be pretty strong. For the wrong build, it is just a candle. Finally, we have the Sweeping Blade and Ugly Apple combo to wrap it up. The Sweeping Blade lets sawmills and trees deal damage over time while they are active. You can rack up some nice extra damage if you commit heavily to lumber buildings, but it is a very specialized strategy. The Ugly Apple, on the other hand, spawns a temporary toad every time a building is depleted. That can be handy if timed with your starter buildings running out, or it can clog up your troop limit with a horde of not-so-helpful amphibians. The artifacts in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Blade of Vengeance, Blood and Wine, Amphora, Crystal Mask, Cupbearer's Vessel, Enchanted Totem, Family Crossbow, Free Housing, Golden Bull, Hand of the Avenged, Homemade Fireworks, Indescribable Figurine, Iron Helmet, Mason's Scroll, Means of Production, Mage's Notebook, Metal Mask, Miner's Lamp, Moon Talisman, Mystic Stone, Porcelain Chip, Red Eye, Royal Crown, Rune Shard, Scribe's Quill, Tasty Fruit, Vine Mask, Woodpile, Wooden Key, Old Dice, Voodoo Beads, and Walrus Mask. There's rarely a bad time to pick a B-tier artifact unless there's a better option on the table. Take Blade of Vengeance, for example. It deals 50 damage to a random enemy whenever one of your troops dies. If you're not playing as Leonid, you'll probably be losing plenty of units, so might as well make the enemy pay a little for every loss you suffer. Then there's the Blood and Wine Amphora, which makes defeated enemies drop 2 bottles of wine each. It's a decent way to keep some wine flowing if you don't have a winery up and running yet. If you like collecting crystals without the hassle of watching a mine, Crystal Mask gives you 3 crystals every time you kill an enemy. which can save you a lot of micromanagement. The Cupbearer's Vessel is all about steady morale. It produces one wine every 10 seconds for every well or big well in your city. Usually, your troops will drink that wine faster than it's produced, but hey, at least you get a morale boost at the start of fights. The Enchanted Totem tosses 2 standard seals onto random tiles in your city. You don't get to decide where, but seals are solid buffs wherever they land, so no complaints there. If you want some backup firepower, Family Crossbow spawns 2 temporary crossbowmen at the start of each wave. Crossbowmen are solid ranged units, and if you pair them with an archery range and upgrade it with stunning arrows, those extra archers add a couple of stuns per wave, which can be clutch. When it comes to saving resources, free housing refunds the cost of your next 3 buildings. Just make sure to use it on expensive buildings, because wasting it on something cheap like trees is a missed opportunity. For a steady food boost, Golden Bull gives you 25 wheat at the start of each wave. It adds up nicely, but keep in mind wheat can run out fast if you're constantly reinforcing troops. If you're into some magical chaos, Hand of the Avenged casts Wrath on a random friendly unit whenever one of your troops dies, giving a nice attack speed boost. Just don't lose your entire army, or there won't be anyone left to receive Wrath. On the more explosive side, Homemade Fireworks rewards you with a fireworks spell every 3 waves, which translates into a nice production buff. For those who like a bit of resurrection flair, the Indescribable Figurine brings back a friendly unit as a powerful, dreadful creature once every 140 seconds. These temporary units pack a punch, making it worth sacrificing a grunt or warrior for the chance. The Iron Helmet is simple but effective. It boosts max health of all current and future troops by 30, which really helps early game when units are more fragile. If you want to keep your castle in shape, Mason's Scroll restores 3 castle health every time you cast a spell. It's probably the best healing artifact for your fortress, especially if you can reliably get spells. Means of Production gives you 1 of each basic production building: Wheatfield, Sawmill, Iron Mine, and Clay Mine. These single-use buildings punch way above their weight and are very valuable. For a quick magical boost, Mage's Notebook hands you 2 immediate spell picks, but be careful if you already have 6 spells, because extras just vanish. Metal Mask gives 3 ore per enemy killed, which is great because ore is vital and can sometimes be scarce. Similarly, Miner's Lamp drops 25 ore at the start of each wave, ensuring a steady supply. If you're an early game fan, Moon Talisman gives you 3 healer mages every time you upgrade your gaze. It shines early on but loses luster later. Mystic Stone deals 12 damage per second to a random enemy. Small, but constant damage that adds up nicely over time. Some resources are more situational, like the Porcelain Chip, which grants 25 clay at the beginning of each wave. Clay's value depends on your build, but if it fits your strategy, it's vital. Meanwhile, Red Eye makes all your buildings work 5% faster. It's a modest buff, but stacks well with other bonuses. For a quick burst of fireworks, Royal Crown instantly gives you 5 fireworks spells. Basically the all-at-once version of Homemade Fireworks. Reducing cooldowns is always good, and Rune Shard cuts 1 king ability cooldown by 25%, depending on its color. Each shard is useful, but your choice depends on the king you're playing. Scribe's Quill gives you the blueprints for Magic School, Magic College, and Archmage's University all at once. Just remember, you'll need the resources to build them, or Leo can sacrifice the blueprints for morale instead. Need more troops? Tasty Fruit increases your unit limit by 2, which can be helpful, but won't flood the battlefield alone. The Vine Mask rewards you with 4 grapes per enemy kill, fueling your winery or units that need grapes. Woodpile gives you 25 wood at the start of each wave. Wood is wood, and you can always use more. With Wooden Key, every time you create a new unit, you get 3 wood, which basically refunds some wood for lost troops if you keep replacing them. The Old Dice is a wild card that gives you 40 units of a random resource at the start of each wave, sometimes landing you some surprisingly useful drops. Lastly, Voodoo Beads let you re-roll your reward choice once for free each time you pick, giving you a second chance at getting what you want. And if it doesn't work out, you can recycle the pick for extra denarii. And Walrus Mask gives all your troops 10% more damage against bosses, which is fantastic, if you survive that long. It's especially helpful against bosses like Mortifacts who love to lock down your units. The artifacts in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Ancestral Power, Golden Wings, Mage's Robe, Magic Prism, Memento Mori, Samurai Helm, Stunning Mace, Twin Projectiles, Chi Fan, Rusty Bell, and Suspicious Pile. Alright, buckle up, because now we're talking about the A-tier artifacts in The King is Watching. The real game changers you can actually build your whole strategy around. These bad boys don't just help, they make your units and spells downright terrifying. Let's jump right in and see why these deserve the spotlight. First on the list is Ancestral Power. If you're a fan of spells that pack a punch, this artifact doubles all spell damage. Seriously, every fiery blast or icy shard you throw out suddenly feels like a wrecking ball. If your build revolves around offensive magic, this one's a no-brainer. Spam those spells like there's no tomorrow. Then we have Golden Wings, which boosts flying units by 30% in both movement and attack speed. Flying troops might be rare as hen's teeth, but if you snag this artifact and get a decent flock airborne, they'll be darting and striking faster than your enemies can react. Mage's Robe is all about synergy. It increases spell damage by 3% for every arcane unit on the battlefield. So the more mystical buddies you have, the stronger your magic gets. Perfect for heroes like Spellis, who can field plenty of arcane units and keep casting non-stop. Next up is Magic Prism. This one is straight up sorcery luck. Every spell you cast has a 30% chance to fire twice. Just imagine, one spell, 2 hits. To get the most out of it, make sure you have at least one spell research building active so your magic never runs dry. Memento Mori is a blessing for riders. It regenerates 1 hit point per second for all rider units. Riders like Goose Riders and Squires usually hit fast and run, so this slow but steady healing helps them stick around much longer than usual. The Samurai Helm is basically a warrior's dream come true. It gives all warrior troops a 10% buff to health, damage, and attack speed. Warriors are already pretty solid, especially when paired with ranged units, so this artifact makes them downright lethal. Stunning Mace is a luxury item for champions. Their attacks stun enemies once every 20 seconds, making those costly champion units even more valuable. When they hit, the enemy gets locked down just long enough to change the fight. Then there's Twin Projectiles, a beautiful tag team with warriors and ranged units. Every warrior on the battlefield gives your ranged troops a stacking 4% chance to fire twice with each attack. Pair this with the Samurai Helm, and watch your enemies get shredded from both front and back. Chi Fan adds a little something for everyone. Each time you cast a spell, all your units gain 5 bonus health points. That means constant spell casting isn't just for offense. It's also buffing your whole army's survivability. Rusty Bell is the summoner's artifact. It calls 2 Goose Riders as temporary units at the start of each wave. Goose Riders are solid units by themselves, but if you manage to get 5 on the field, they grant a powerful buff to all warriors. Rusty Bell helps you reach that sweet spot faster. Last but not least, Suspicious Pile lets you sell clay, grapes, and crystals at the market, since clay and crystals aren't essential in every build. Turning them into gold is smart, especially if your market is upgraded for morale bonuses. That's like turning junk into gold twice over. There you have it. The A-tier artifacts that don't just support your gameplay, but turbocharge it. If you see any of these pop up, it's definitely time to rethink your strategy around them. The artifacts in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Ball of Yarn, Comfy Bed, Dummy Target, Eye of the Storm, Golden Arrow, Hearty Borscht, Invigorating Nectar, Metal, Nutritious Fruit, Ram's Horn, Royal Rune, Stone Gaze, and Trusty Compass. Alright, now we're stepping into the big leagues. The S-tier artifacts in The King is Watching. These gems don't just nudge your strategy forward, they catapult it into a whole new dimension. If you see one of these, grab it without hesitation. No second thoughts, no, maybe later. Let's break down why these are the cream of the crop. First off, Ball of Yarn, a deceptively simple but insanely powerful artifact. It speeds up all your resource production by 10%. Since this game is basically a resource production race, having everything run faster is like adding rocket boosters to your economy. Next up, Comfy Bed. This one increases the capacity of all current and future barracks by 1 each. Why does that matter? Because you want to recruit troops that don't fit on the battlefield into the barracks, ready to reinforce immediately when casualties hit. It's like having a secret reserve army waiting in the wings. Then there's Dummy Target, which cranks troop production speed by 20%. Quick reinforcements are clutch during boss fights when every second counts. Just remember, your resource production better keep pace. Otherwise, you're making troops faster than you can afford. Eye of the Storm amps up your troops' damage by 20% for the entire game. If you're smart, you'll cast Wrath as often as possible to stack even more damage on top of that. Your enemies won't know what hit them. Golden Arrow is a perfect head start for boss fights. It instantly deals 10% of the boss's health as damage as soon as they appear. That early whack can make a huge difference, especially on higher threat levels where every bit counts. Hearty Borscht. Boost your troop limit by 6. More units on the battlefield equals more damage raining down on enemies. Pair this with extra barracks for a steady flow of reinforcements, and you're practically unstoppable. Invigorating Nectar heals all your troops for 15% of their maximum health at the start of each wave. This massively improves your army's survivability. Fewer dead units means less time rebuilding and more time crushing your foes. The medal pumps up max health for all current and future troops by a whopping 75 points. That's more than double the bonus from Iron Helm. Even fragile grunts suddenly feel like warriors in terms of durability. Nutritious Fruit adds a 20% max health boost to all troops, past and future. This is especially deadly on riders, champions, and some warriors, especially if you stack it with other buffs. Talk about turning your army into a fortress. Ram's Horn is like a little health fountain. Every time an enemy dies, a random friendly unit restores 20% health. Balancing your prophecies between swarms and elites lets your troops heal safely on the weaker enemies without getting overwhelmed. Royal Rune speeds up all King abilities cooldowns by 25%. King abilities can change the course of a run, so being able to use them more often is a huge edge. Stone Gaze keeps the building on the center tile permanently active, even if your gaze isn't on it. If you place the monument to the King's Gaze there, you activate 4 more buildings at once. Or you can put a tavern or arena for morale boosts, or just your most crucial production building. This artifact is crazy versatile and game-changing. Finally, Trusty Compass slaps legendary seals on 3 random tiles. These seals drastically speed up their buildings. The earlier you get this artifact, the more you benefit, turbocharging your economy and production like nothing else. So yeah, if any of these pop up, it's basically a gift from the game gods. Snatch them up and watch your run soar to heights you didn't think possible. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.